turn over, I guess. Inside out, there we go. Turn inside out your notes. Now in the sovereignty, God being totally in control, because He's all-powerful, He's totally in control. Because He's in control, He is all-powerful. Sovereignty, you see a sovereignty in these different ways. And I bolded the verses that we're going to look up because we're not going to look at all these verses because there's a lot here. I'll let you look them up as you see fit in the time frame that you will plan for yourself. But Psalm 103, for God being sovereign over the entire universe. Psalm 103:19. Psalm 103:19. I'll read this one. The Lord has established His throne in the heavens, and His sovereignty rules over all. And then Psalm 115, verse 3, a few pages over. Verse 3. Can someone read that?
For our God is in the heavens, and does whatever He pleases.
Notice, He'll do whatever He pleases. And once again, I'll bring this up. Because He is omnipotent, all-powerful, He is in control. He will do as He pleases. And because He does as He pleases, therefore He is a God who's in control, who is all-powerful. Excuse me. Notice how He is not just sovereign over the entire universe, but all of nature. Psalm 135. So go a few pages forward in your Bible to Psalm 135.
Whatever the Lord pleases, He does in heaven and in earth, in the seas and in all deeps. He causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth, who makes lightnings for the rain, who brings forth the wind from His treasuries.
Good one. I'll read you this one, how God is sovereign over angels and Satan. And Job, Job 1:12. Then the Lord said to Satan, behold, all that he has is in your power, only do not put forth your hand on him. So Satan departed from the presence of the Lord. Could even use verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan himself also came among them. So he must present himself to the Lord as well. Notice how God is sovereign over angels and Satan. And now God is sovereign over the nations. I just bolded 4:34 through 35. It should be Daniel. Daniel should be bolded. So if you turn to Daniel, Daniel chapter 4, verse 34. Daniel 34 through 35.
But at the end of that period, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my reason returned to me. And I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored Him who lives forever. For His dominion is everlasting, an everlasting dominion, and His kingdom endures from generation to generation. And all the inhabitants of the earth are accounted as nothing. But He does according to His will in the host of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth. And no one can ward off His hand, or say to Him, what hast thou done?
Notice again in Daniel how this is His sovereignty, His omnipotence is connected to His will. He does according to His will in the hosts of heaven. And no one can ward off or say to Him, what have you done? No one can say that to God. He will do as He sees fit. He is sovereign. I actually will quote for you Him being sovereign over the entire universe. Ephesians 1 verse 11, He works all things after the counsel of His will. He's sovereign over the human beings, over animals, over disasters. Here in Daniel, go back a few pages in your Old Testaments. to Lamentations. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, just before Ezekiel. Lamentations chapter 3, verse 37. Verse 37 and 38, can someone read that for us?
Who has spoken and it came to pass unless the Lord has commanded it? Is it not from the mouth of the Most High that good and bad come?
Both good and bad come. Disasters come from the Lord. Again, think big picture. Big picture. His sovereign, His omnipotence. The free acts of men, He's sovereign over. The sinful acts of men, He is sovereign over. Acts chapter 2. This shows us that in the decree of God, God has planned, does not take pleasure in, but plans within His decree sin. He is the one, primary cause. Acts 2:23. Can someone read that for us?
This man was handed over to you by God's set purpose and foreknowledge, and you, with the help of wicked men, put him to death by nailing him to the cross.
Now, see both aspects here, which we could have went into a whole Sunday school class about this very issue, is if God is sovereign and all-powerful with His will and His freedom, what do you do with human responsibility? Does it go away? No. And I think this verse answers that question. Because even though God planned this, even though it's the primary cause within the plan of God to bring about the most hideous, the most wicked sin of all of humanity, the killing of the Son of Man, the killing of the Son of God, notice He says, it came about through the predetermined plan and foreknowledge of God, you nailed to a cross. So God planned it? Yes. Are they responsible? Yes. And the reason why man is responsible is because God has sovereignly told them they're responsible. That pretty much lets that thing go. So if someone says, well, if God's sovereign, then that means man's not responsible. No, my friend. It actually proves that man's responsible. Because God has said, I'm sovereign. And guess what? You're responsible.
Settles that.
Settles that. Really quick, right?
And who killed Jesus?
Yeah, who killed Jesus? God did. And He used it. Secondary causes. Man did. The Romans did. The Jews.
Our sin.
Our sin. We did. And last, He's sovereign in salvation. Romans 9:18.
Therefore He has mercy on whom He wills, and whom He wills, He is pardoned.
He's sovereign in salvation.
That's not very Armenian. Thanks, Mike.
He's going to have mercy upon whom He's going to have mercy. He's going to harden the ones He's going to harden. He's going to do as He pleases. And remember, we talked about this earlier. We want to do things, and when we don't get to do those things, we get unhappy. And probably because we want to do those things with evil motives, right? God never has evil motives, so He can never do anything that's evil. So everything that He wants to do, He will do, and it will be glorifying to His name.
We don't always have evil motives. Just self-serving.
Thoughts, comments, questions on that part before we go into how do we show contempt of God's power and sovereignty? And then I'll hear from all of you. Are you trying to throw something at me?
Almost.
He's waving to his wife.
The Spirit overcoming you?
You want to answer that?
I don't.
Praise the Lord.
Non-cessationists are all alike. Anyways,
It's on tape.
You hurt you guys.
come on. Okay, so now you tell me, how do we end up showing contempt of God's power or of His sovereignty? What are some different things that we do?
The question?
We question it. That's good. We question it.
Not believing in His power.
We distrust Him. We don't believe Him.
Doubt.
We doubt.
We act without considering what His will is.
We just act instead of considering His will. We just do. Instead of trusting God and believing God, who do we end up trusting?
Ourselves.
Ourselves. That's right. I mean, isn't it dumb? I mean, here you have all-powerful God, and yet, I think I know better in this situation.
I can.
I've been through this before.
Yeah. I've gone through this before. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Who do we end up fearing?
Man.
End up fearing man? So we distrust God, right? We trust ourselves. We fear man. Someone else said another one. We doubt. I mean, I'm hoping you're writing these things down, because these are good things you should be writing down. This is how we show contempt of the power of God. We just kind of pass it off. We don't listen.
I think maybe, that prayer becomes sort of our last resort instead of our first place we go. We kind of try to handle it all ourselves, and then if that doesn't work, then we think, oh, maybe God can help.
And that is a specific way how we don't trust God. We don't pray. We don't pray. I'll even go farther. And when we do pray, we don't believe when we're praying. Right.
We don't have faith in His sovereignty.
No. We don't. One that I have down here too is, in reality, we don't believe the gospel. We don't believe the gospel. Now we say we do, and we profess, but our very actions, we are showing we don't believe in the gospel. Because is that not the ultimate way by which God says you must trust me? Right? I am the one, says God, who had my son be killed by the hands of godless men because of your sin. And you're not trusting me? Other ways that you can think of?
But just pride in general kind of is,
Right.
when we sort of forget, that we're pretty small in the big scheme of things, kind of start getting filled up with ourselves and think, I'm pretty cool or whatever, and God can drop us down a notch pretty fast if He wants to.
Yes, arrogance. Other thoughts, comments?
In Ezekiel, the first 9 chapters of Ezekiel, he practically destroyed the Israelites completely. But he had a remnant of those who did not bow down to Baal or the sun or anything else.
You see His mercy, it's still there.
Ready?
You see His mercy, it's still there. I'll turn your papers over. I have some more thoughts here for you. I don't quite know why I did that. How do we abuse God's power?
What's the difference between abusing it and showing contempt for it?
Good question. What will be the difference?
You mean like presuming?
Yes. Presuming? How do we presume upon God's power or abuse it? I have two ways, there might be others, but I have two. Stephen Charnock has been very helpful with me on these last two things that we're doing, how we abuse it and how we show contempt.
Would one be sort of like what Jesus was tempted to do, to jump off the temple and because God will catch you, basically?
And that's where, how do we abuse it? We presume upon it. We, idleness. Take advantage of it. Well, God's sovereign, so I don't need to do anything. God is in charge of you, Jesus. I mean, throw yourself off the pinnacle. And what did Satan do? He quoted Scripture. He will keep his angels in charge over you, so you won't strike your foot against a stone. That's what it says. That's what we end up doing. We presume. That's how we abuse the power of God. We presume upon the power of God. Idleness. You become idle, right? No evangelism.
How about excessive debt?
Excessive debt?
That's presuming.
Maybe. Yeah. Probably a better way to put that is spending more than what we own.
Kind of sounds like the same thing.
Kind of sounds like the American culture.
Little bumper sticker, let go, let God.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? I mean, if there's no evangelism, why would Paul pray? Pray that I'll be able to speak boldly the mystery of the gospel, he says in Ephesians chapter 6. You know, God's sovereign. What's he praying that for? We presume upon God, idleness, no evangelism. What would be another way, though, that we abuse God's power?
Don't take care of our temples, our bodies.
Okay. Well, that would be idleness.
That's one way.
Lazy. Right. What do we try to justify?
Ourselves.
So?
Everything.
Sins, right? We try to justify seemingly contradictions. We try to justify our sin. Well, since God's all-powerful, we think that He's going to do absurd things, crazy things. He's going to justify my sin, too.
Or you sort of hear this argument sometimes, well, God allowed me to do it, so it must have been what He wanted me to do. That would be an example, kind of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I love that woman, so God must have given me that love.
Right, there you go. Right.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I don't see anything in Scripture that says to do that, but I do where it says we are commanded by Him under His sovereignty to obey His.
But that's what people do. They end up justifying their sin. They justify these seemingly contradictions.
What about a lazy person looking for a job? They say, well, God will provide. He doesn't look for a job.
Right, that goes back to idleness, right? Well, but that also could be justifying our sin too, right? Remember, we must not forget that God's nature determines His will. God's nature determines His will. He will never do anything. So when we say God can do anything, that's true, but God's not going to do something that's contrary to Himself. So God cannot do everything, so to speak. We have to remember that. He will always determine things according to His nature. Keep that in mind. So He's not going to do absurd things. He's not going to do a blatant type sin thing and almost be sadistic and go, I'm so glad that happened. Oh, now let me help you. He's not going to do that. His nature determines His will.
But He takes nations to destroy other nations.
Yes, that's a form of His judgment.
That's why He does not always do what we ask Him.
Yes. Because we might be thinking this is going to be best, but yet He knows the motivations of our heart. That motivation could be sinful or wrong, or in the big scheme of things, not be the best thing, and then He won't answer those prayer requests. Yes, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Karen.
Okay.
other things. Now, let's get a little bit more positive here. In what ways do we find comfort in God's power? Comfort in God's sovereignty? In what ways? I got 3, 4, 5. I got 5. Is that right? Yeah. I got 5 blank, but maybe there's more. But tell me.
In His Word.
In His Word.
His ability to save us and keep us.
His ability to save us. I individually will persevere, right? I will persevere in my salvation. Because He's the one who's persevering me. Right? That's comfort, right? I mean, that's comfort in the sovereignty of God, in His omnipotence. What's some other ways?
His discipline.
In His discipline. Okay? Yeah? We can find comfort.
We're not always in His discipline.
No.
Sometimes we don't like it.
But aren't you?
Big scheme of things, we can.
But you're thankful when He does, though. You know it.
And let's be,
You're really there. Oh, you're really watching me. You really can.
let's be even more specific. In afflictions, right?
Yes.
In your afflictions, in your distresses.
Provision.
In provision.
Mm-hmm.
Providing all of our needs.
God will provide for our needs. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Another way how we can find comfort in the sovereignty of God, in His omnipotence. How about in your temptations?
Romans 6, right?
1 Corinthians 10:13.
Don't be tempted beyond our
And the temptation has overtaken you, as is common to man. God is faithful, right?
Doubting His Word.
Doubting His word is how we find comfort.
No, we don't find comfort in that, but we always doubt His Word. If we doubt His Word, then we try to go to Him for comfort.
Right, so opposite to that, since we're looking at positive, would be trusting His word. Maybe that might be one. You find comfort in God's power by trusting His word. How about, so let's just kind of go through, what are some of the ones you have written down so far? Tell me.
His word, trusting His ability to save and to keep, His discipline, afflictions, I'm sorry, and provisions, and in temptation.
Temptations, right? How about in this? We can take comfort in the fact that God keeps what?
Our word,
Keeps His word, His promises. In His world going, yes. He perseveres, yes. The creation perseveres. But for us specifically, for me, for Jim, for Gloria, for Matthias, for Janet, for you individually, God will keep His promises. God will keep His promises. That's how you can find comfort in the sovereignty, the omnipotence of God.
In evangelism also, we can find comfort in the way one friend expressed it to me was kind of interesting. He said, we can go out and fish knowing that God's already stopped the pond. Anyways, I can kind of see what he means, and that God will reward our labors. And so.
That's good. In evangelism, that's true. That's a good one. You find comfort in God's sovereignty in evangelism. That we just got to just boldly give someone the gospel, and God will deal with it. God will take care of the rest. It should free us to give the gospel, not keep us from getting the gospel. That's good. I have one more way, but is there other ways that you can think of? We talked about how, I individually persevere. I also have this down. We corporately will persevere. The church will persevere. You will see the church go down a path, church as a whole, not specifically this church, but the church as a whole, the universal church type thing. You will see them going down this road and you're just saying, oh my goodness, like the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages. It's like, where's the true church, right? But God will persevere. His church. We will persevere. He will keep perseverance. He will keep bringing about and preserve His church. We can take comfort. Other thoughts, comments, questions? There on your sheets I have a he, 5 He's. You can fill in these blanks I have for you. This is what God does. He answers our prayers. He answers our prayers. He supplies our needs. He supplies our needs. So He answers our prayers. He supplies our needs. Number 3, He subdues our passions. He subdues our passions. I don't mean passion in terms of being passionate and virtuous in that way, but passion in terms of our sin. He subdues our passions. 4, He delivers us from our temptations. He delivers our temptations. He answers our prayers. He supplies our needs. He subdues our passions. He delivers our temptations. And last, He relieves our miseries. He relieves our miseries. One more verse for you to look up. Ephesians 3, verse 20. One more verse for us to read. And then we'll open up again for some more discussion and questions and comments. Ephesians chapter 3, I think this is a perfect way to close, to end with the omnipotence, the sovereignty of God. Ephesians 3, verse 20 and 21. I'll read this for us. Now to Him who is able to do exceeding abundantly beyond all that we ask or think, according to the power that works within us. To Him the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus to all generations forever and ever. Amen. Last comments, questions, confessions, convictions.
Lead the way.
I remember reading somebody said when, the statement, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. That statement's absolutely untrue because God has absolute power and it didn't corrupt Him, obviously. But what happens to us is when we get power, it just exposes what our weakness had previously contained. And so praise God that I'm not God.
Well, and that statement definitely is not true for Him. It will be true for a man, for people. Because whenever we're put in a position of power, it can very easily lead to corruption of that power, unfortunately.